Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest tragedies in life is when a person allows things outside of themselves to govern their choices, their mindset, and ultimately their destiny. You were not born to be controlled. You were born to lead your life with purpose, discipline, and wisdom. But many unknowingly surrender that leadership to forces that slowly rob them of their potential. Today I want to speak to you, not just to inspire you, but to educate and awaken you about 10 things you must never allow to control your life. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can shape or sabotage a person's life. It comes silently, often without permission, and builds walls where doors could be. Fear was never meant to be your master, yet so many people live each day ruled by it. They fear failure, so they never try. They fear rejection, so they never speak. They fear judgment, so they never show their true self. Fear convinces people to shrink, to settle, and to stay quiet, even when their soul is crying out to grow, to lead, and to become something greater. The truth is, fear is not your enemy, but letting it control you is. At its core, fear is a response to the unknown. It's a survival mechanism built to protect you from danger. But in the modern world, most fears are not about survival, they are about perception. The fear of being wrong, the fear of being alone, the fear of being misunderstood. These are not life-threatening, yet they paralyze dreams. Fear stops people from making decisions that could change their lives. It convinces them that staying where they are is safer than stepping into the unknown. But the unknown is where growth lives. It's where new beginnings take shape. Every great success story started with a moment of fear that was conquered, not avoided. If you allow fear to lead your choices, it will guide you down a road of regret. You'll find yourself at the end of years wishing you had spoken up, applied, started, left, or believed. What makes fear so dangerous is not just what it makes you feel, but what it makes you miss. Opportunities do not wait for fear to pass. Life doesn't pause until you feel brave enough. At some point, you must learn to move afraid. You must develop the discipline to act even when your voice shakes, even when your knees tremble, even when the outcome is unclear. One of the most effective ways to overcome fear is through knowledge. Education shrinks fear. The more you understand something, the less mysterious and threatening it becomes. If you're afraid to fail in business, study how great entrepreneurs handled loss. If you're afraid to speak in public, learn communication skills. Take small steps and practice in safe environments. Fear loses its power when you confront it with clarity. When you shine the light of understanding on what you're afraid of, you'll often find it's not as powerful as it once seemed. It's also important to remember that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else matters more. Your future matters more. Your growth matters more. Your purpose matters more. People who accomplish great things are not fearless. They are just unwilling to let fear dictate their path. They've trained themselves to recognize fear, acknowledge it, but still move forward. That is what separates the stuck from the successful. Action in the presence of fear. Another key to mastering fear is exposure. The more you face what scares you, the more you realize you can survive it. Speak up even when your voice shakes. Try even if you might fail. Every act of courage makes you stronger. Fear thrives in silence and avoidance. It weakens every time you take action. So today, make a decision. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. It won't, but you don't need it to. What you need is a reason stronger than your fear, a vision, a goal, a future that pulls you forward. Don't let fear be your leader. It was never meant to sit in the driver's seat of your life. Learn, grow, prepare, but above all, act. Because the life you dream of is on the other side of the fear you're willing to face. One of the most subtle yet powerful forms of control that many people fall victim to is the control of other people's opinions. From the time we are young, we are conditioned to seek approval, whether it's from our parents, teachers, friends, or even strangers. We begin to shape our behavior, our goals, and even our identity around what others think is acceptable, impressive, or respectable. But what's acceptable to the world is often not aligned with your truth. The moment you start living for applause, you risk abandoning your purpose. And when you allow the opinions of others to become louder than your own voice, you surrender the pen that writes your story. It's important to understand that everyone has an opinion, and most of them are shaped by personal experiences, fears, insecurities, and limited perspectives. People project their beliefs onto you, what they think you can do, what they think you should be, how far they believe you can go. But none of that is truth. It's just opinion, and opinion is not fact. What someone thinks about you is not your reality unless you make it so. Too many dreams have died at the hands of someone else's doubt. Too many voices with potential went silent because someone said, "You're not good enough," or "That'll never work." But the real tragedy isn't that people said it, it's that someone believed it. Living under the control of opinions is exhausting. It makes you question every move. You second guess your decisions. You hide your real thoughts. You suppress your creativity. And the worst part is, even after doing everything to please others, there will still be people who disapprove. You could live a life that's completely shaped by what others expect and still face judgment. That's because no matter what you do, you will never satisfy everyone. So why not live a life that satisfies your soul? Why not honor the voice inside you instead of chasing validation from outside you? Real freedom begins the moment you stop needing approval, the moment you realize you don't have to explain your journey to those who aren't walking it. You don't owe the world a version of you that makes them comfortable. You owe yourself a life that makes you fulfilled. Let people talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them judge your choices. What matters most is that you are being true to yourself. Because in the end, the people who truly love and respect you will support your growth, even if they don't fully understand it. You must build a strong foundation of self-worth, one that doesn't rise and fall with people's opinions. That starts with knowing who you are and what you stand for. Spend time with yourself. Reflect on your values, your passions, your strengths. Learn to trust your intuition. The more deeply rooted you are in your identity, the less influence others will have over your direction. Educate yourself. Develop your character. The more you grow in knowledge and self-awareness, the less you'll need to seek confirmation from others. And remember, the people who criticize you often do so from the sidelines. They're not in the arena with you. They're not the ones taking risks, chasing dreams, or walking your path. Don't let someone else's fear become the limit of your faith. Don't let their small vision shape your big destiny. Most importantly, don't trade your peace for popularity. Don't sacrifice your uniqueness to fit into a mold designed by other people's expectations. At the end of your life, you won't answer to public opinion. You'll answer to the life you chose to live or didn't. You'll look back and either be grateful that you had the courage to follow your heart, or regret that you let the noise of others drown out your purpose. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose to be led by vision, not by voices. Because the most powerful opinion about your life should be the one you hold within. Your past is a chapter in your life, not the whole story. Yet for many people, it becomes a prison they never leave. They walk into the future looking backward, carrying the weight of old mistakes, failures, and disappointments like chains on their soul. The past has power only when you give it permission to define your present. Too often, people allow what happened to them yesterday to decide who they are today and what they can become tomorrow. But the truth is, your past was meant to teach you, not trap you. It's a classroom, not a cage. And until you decide to learn from it rather than live in it, you will keep reliving the same pain in new forms. We've all done things we regret. We've all faced moments we wish we could go back and change. But life doesn't offer us reverse. It offers us reflection. Regret becomes a tool for growth when you use it to become wiser, not when you use it to beat yourself up. You are not the same person today as you were then. You have more awareness, more knowledge, more insight. Stop punishing yourself for decisions you made with a different level of understanding. If you've taken responsibility and learned from it, then it's time to forgive yourself and move forward. Carrying guilt forever is not strength. It's self-sabotage. Many people also let the pain others caused them in the past shape how they see themselves. They let rejection create insecurity. They let betrayal create fear. They let loss create bitterness. But when you allow those experiences to control you, you give your power away. The person who hurt you doesn't deserve to keep having authority over your peace. What they did may have left a scar, but a scar is not a sign of weakness. It's proof that you've healed. Don't let the wound define you. Let it remind you that you made it through and you're still becoming stronger because of it. The past can also show up in the form of labels. Maybe someone called you a failure, said you'd never make it, or treated you like you were unworthy. And maybe part of you believed them. But you have to realize those labels were someone else's perception, not your identity. Your value doesn't decrease because someone couldn't see it. Don't wear someone else's limited view of you like a badge. Just because that was your reality once doesn't mean it has to be your destiny now. You have the power to rewrite the narrative. What keeps people stuck in the past isn't just the events themselves, but the stories they continue to tell themselves about those events. The human mind is always looking for meaning. And when we assign meaning to our pain that says, I'm broken, I'm cursed, or nothing good happens for me, we end up repeating the story until we believe it's who we are. But you can change the story. You can say, that experience shaped me, but it doesn't define me. You can say, I was hurt, but I healed. The story you choose to believe about your past will either set you free or keep you in chains. Growth is impossible without the past, but so is peace if you refuse to let it go. You must decide to no longer be a prisoner of what you cannot change. Life is calling you forward, but you can't answer if you're too busy looking back. What happened to you is not nearly as important as what you do next. You can't rewrite the beginning, but you can choose how the rest of the story unfolds. Let your past be your teacher, not your master. Use it as fuel, not a finish line. You are not your history. You are the author of your future. And the pen is still in your hand. Negative thoughts are like weeds in the garden of your mind. If you don't uproot them early, they spread quickly and choke out the flowers of hope, confidence, and progress. Every person experiences negative thoughts, doubts, fears, worries, and criticisms. But the problem begins when these thoughts take root and grow unchecked, shaping how you see yourself, your abilities, and your future. The truth is, your thoughts are incredibly powerful. They are the lens through which you view the world and the filter through which you interpret your experiences. When negativity dominates this lens, it distorts reality and limits what you believe is possible. Letting negative thoughts control your life is like trying to drive a car while looking through a cracked windshield. You won't see clearly, and your journey will be full of unnecessary obstacles. It's important to recognize that thoughts themselves are not facts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Many negative thoughts come from fear or past experiences that don't reflect your present or future potential. For example, the thought, "I'm not good enough," often arises from a moment of failure or criticism. But it's not a permanent truth. These thoughts are automatic reactions conditioned over time, and they don't have to define your reality. The first step in freeing yourself from negative thinking is awareness. You must learn to observe your thoughts without immediately accepting them as fact. When you catch a negative thought, don't fight it or suppress it. Instead, question it. Ask yourself, is this really true? What evidence do I have? Am I being fair to myself? This practice creates distance between you and the thought, weakening its control. Another way negative thoughts control life is by influencing emotions and actions. When your mind is flooded with worry or self-doubt, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or depressed. These feelings can paralyze you, making it difficult to take positive steps forward. Furthermore, negative thoughts often lead to self-fulfilling prophecies. If you constantly tell yourself you'll fail, you might not put in the effort required to succeed. If you believe people don't like you, you may act withdrawn or defensive, which pushes others away. Understanding this cycle is crucial because it shows how thoughts are not isolated. They affect your behavior and ultimately your results. By changing your thinking, you change your feelings and actions, and you change your life. The mind is a muscle. And like any muscle, it needs training. Developing a habit of positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means consciously choosing thoughts that empower you rather than drain you. This can be done through daily affirmations, surrounding yourself with supportive people, practicing gratitude, and focusing on solutions instead of problems. Positive thoughts build resilience and open your mind to opportunities that negative thinking would block. When you shift your focus from why me to what can I learn from this, you turn obstacles into stepping stones. It's also important to manage the input your mind receives. The information you consume, news, social media, conversations, can fuel negative thinking if it's overly critical, fear-based, or pessimistic. Protect your mental environment by choosing sources that inspire, educate, and uplift you. Limit time spent with negative people who drain your energy. Instead, invest time with those who encourage growth and help you see your potential. Remember, you are the gatekeeper of your mind. You decide what thoughts you nurture and which ones you let go. Don't underestimate the power of mindfulness and meditation to break the grip of negative thoughts. These practices teach you to live in the present moment, reducing the tendency to ruminate on past mistakes or future worries. When you practice being present, you realize that many negative thoughts are just noise, temporary and often exaggerated. Mindfulness creates mental clarity and peace, allowing you to respond to life's challenges from a calm and centered place rather than a fearful one. Negative thoughts can control your life only if you let them. They are not commands but invitations to grow stronger and wiser. By becoming aware of your thinking patterns, questioning your inner critic, training your mind toward positivity, managing your mental environment, and practicing mindfulness, you take back control. Your thoughts shape your reality. So choose to plant seeds of hope, courage, and belief. Your mind is powerful. Use it to create a life you love, not one you fear. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions humans experience. And while it serves a necessary purpose in keeping us safe from danger, it often becomes the invisible barrier that holds us back from living fully. The problem is not fear itself, but allowing fear to control your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your life. When fear dominates, it distorts your perception of reality and convinces you that risk is too great, that failure is inevitable, or that you are not capable enough to succeed. This leads to hesitation, procrastination, and missed opportunities. The truth is that fear thrives on uncertainty and the unknown. But growth and achievement exist precisely in that space. To let fear control your life is to let your potential slip away, unseen and unfulfilled. Many people live their lives imprisoned by fear without even realizing it. They avoid taking chances because they fear rejection, failure, or embarrassment. They stay in jobs they dislike because they fear the uncertainty of change. They avoid pursuing their dreams because the path looks difficult or risky. What often keeps fear alive is the story we tell ourselves about what might happen if we fail. We imagine worst-case scenarios and catastrophize, making fears appear larger than they really are. But the mind has a tendency to exaggerate threats. It's a survival mechanism designed for a very different world than the one we live in today. Understanding this is the first step to breaking free. Fear is not reality, it is a perception, and perceptions can be changed. One of the most effective ways to take back control from fear is to acknowledge it without letting it rule. Fear is a natural response. Feeling it doesn't make you weak or defective. In fact, courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. When you face fear head-on, you disempower it. Every time you take action in spite of fear, you build confidence and resilience. Over time, the feeling of fear becomes less overwhelming because you prove to yourself that you can survive, adapt, and grow. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you confront fear, the stronger you become. Another important mindset shift is to redefine failure. Fear often stems from the belief that failure is the end of the road or a reflection of your worth, but failure is simply feedback. It's an essential part of learning and progress. Every successful person has faced setbacks, mistakes, and disappointments. What sets them apart is that they didn't let fear of failure stop them. They viewed each setback as a stepping stone, as valuable information to help them adjust their course. When you stop fearing failure, you free yourself to take risks, innovate, and dream bigger. This change in perspective is liberating because it removes the pressure of perfection and replaces it with curiosity and persistence. It's also helpful to remember that fear is often tied to a lack of control. We fear what we cannot predict or manage. To reduce fear, you can focus on what is within your control, your attitude, your preparation, your response. Instead of fixating on all the things that could go wrong, concentrate on the actions you can take to improve your chances of success. Break down big goals into smaller, manageable steps. Celebrate progress, no matter how small, because it builds momentum. The more you engage with your goals through consistent action, the less power fear has over you. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is another key factor in overcoming fear. Isolation can magnify fear, but connection provides encouragement and perspective. Seek mentors, friends, or communities that uplift you, that share stories of courage and that remind you of your strengths. Hearing about others' journeys through fear can inspire you and remind you that you are not alone in this struggle. When you feel supported, fear becomes less intimidating. Cultivating a sense of purpose can push fear to the sidelines. When your reason for doing something is bigger than the fear you feel, you gain strength to persevere. Purpose gives you a direction and meaning that anchors you during uncertainty. It reminds you why taking risks is worth it because the potential rewards again are greater than the temporary discomfort of fear. In conclusion, fear is a natural part of life, but it should never be the master of your destiny. Recognizing fear, confronting it courageously, reframing failure, focusing on what you can control, surrounding yourself with support, and living with purpose are powerful strategies to take back control. Don't let fear shrink your dreams or limit your potential. Instead, use it as a signal to prepare, grow, and act. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Step beyond fear and watch yourself thrive. One of the most common traps that people fall into is allowing other people's opinions to control their lives. From a very young age, we are conditioned to seek approval and validation from those around us, our parents, teachers, friends, and society at large. While some feedback can be helpful, the problem arises when we give too much power to what others think, allowing their judgments, criticisms, or expectations to dictate our choices and shape our self-worth. When this happens, we lose sight of who we truly are and what we genuinely want. Living for others' approval can feel safe, but it often leads to a life of quiet dissatisfaction, regret, and frustration. The desire to be accepted is natural, but the danger lies in making your happiness dependent on external approval. People's opinions are often based on their own fears, biases, and limitations. They are not absolute truths about your potential or value. What one person sees as a flaw might be a unique strength to someone else. What one person discourages, another might encourage. When you let others' views control your life, you give away your personal power and autonomy. Your self-imagination becomes fragile because it depends on shifting external standards instead of an internal foundation of self-respect and confidence. Living under the weight of others' opinions also stifles creativity and growth. When you are overly concerned about how people will judge your ideas, your choices, or your lifestyle, you tend to play it safe. You avoid risks, hide your authentic self, and conform to what is expected rather than what excites or fulfills you. This leads to a life of compromises and missed opportunities. The irony is that people who are most admired and successful are often those who dared to be different, who trusted their own vision rather than the crowd's consensus. They learn to listen to criticism objectively, but not let it drown out their inner voice. Another harmful effect of living by others' opinions is that it breeds anxiety and stress. Constantly worrying about what people think creates mental clutter and emotional exhaustion. You become hyper-aware of every action, word, and decision, fearful of making mistakes or disappointing others. This fear limits spontaneity, joy, and authentic connection because you're always performing or adjusting to meet others' expectations. The irony is that people usually pay far less attention to you than you imagine. Most of the time, their judgments are fleeting and superficial, yet you carry them around like heavy burdens. Breaking free from this control begins with self-awareness and self-acceptance. You must recognize when you are prioritizing others' opinions over your own values and desires. Ask yourself, Whose voice am I really listening to? Am I making this decision for me or for someone else? What do I want if no one else's opinion mattered? These questions help you reconnect with your true self and clarify what truly matters to you. Self-acceptance means embracing your strengths and weaknesses without relying on external validation. It means understanding that your worth is inherent and not contingent on approval. It's also crucial to develop confidence in your own judgment. This doesn't mean ignoring constructive feedback or refusing to learn from others, but rather cultivating discernment about whose opinions deserve your attention. Trusted mentors, close friends who have your best interest at heart, and objective experts can provide valuable input. But casual critics, negative voices, or those who try to impose their fears on you should not have a controlling influence. By setting boundaries around whose opinions affect your choices, you protect your mental and emotional health. 1. Practicing independence in thought and action builds resilience over time. The more you make decisions based on your values and vision, the stronger your self-trust becomes. You begin to realize that the opinions of others cannot dictate your happiness or success unless you let them. You learn to celebrate your uniqueness and to stand firm in your path, even if it differs from what others expect. This freedom is empowering and liberating. Finally, remember that living authentically is not only about your happiness, but also about inspiring others. When you refuse to be controlled by others' opinions and instead live boldly according to your truth, you become a beacon of courage for those around you. You show that it's possible to break free from societal pressures and create a meaningful life on your own terms. This ripple effect can transform relationships, communities, and even culture. Don't let other people's opinions control your life. Recognize their limitations, prioritize your own values, build confidence in your judgment, and live authentically. When you do, you reclaim your power, find deeper fulfillment, and inspire others to do the same. Your life is yours to design. Make sure the blueprint comes from your heart, not someone else's voice. One of the most challenging obstacles people face in their journey toward growth and fulfillment is the weight of past mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It is an inevitable part of being human. Yet, what separates those who move forward from those who remain stuck is how they relate to their past errors. Allowing past mistakes to control your life is a trap that can drain your energy, undermine your confidence, and prevent you from reaching your true potential. When you constantly replay your failures or poor decisions in your mind, you are essentially living in a prison of regret. This fixation on what went wrong blinds you to the present moment and the opportunities that lie ahead. The reality is that the past cannot be changed, but your future is still within your control. Mistakes serve an important purpose. They are the lessons that life uses to teach us. When you make a mistake, it's not a signal that you are incapable or broken. It is a natural part of learning and growth. The problem arises when people attach their identity to their failures, thinking, I am a failure instead of I made a mistake. This subtle shift in perspective is crucial because it determines whether you move forward or get stuck. Viewing mistakes as part of the learning process opens the door to self-compassion and resilience. It allows you to analyze what went wrong, extract a lesson, and apply that knowledge to future choices. Holding on to past mistakes also often comes with feelings of shame and guilt. These emotions, while understandable, can be toxic if they persist. Shame makes you feel unworthy or flawed, while guilt focuses on a specific action but can motivate change if handled constructively. The key is to use these feelings as signals to take responsibility and grow, rather than as chains that weigh you down. Forgiving yourself is one of the most powerful steps in breaking free from the control of past mistakes. Self-forgiveness doesn't mean excusing poor behavior or ignoring consequences. It means acknowledging your humanity and allowing yourself to move on without carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. Other common way past mistakes control lives is through fear. Fear of repeating the same error, fear of judgment, or fear of failure. This fear can lead to paralysis, where you hesitate to take risks or try new things because you don't want to experience pain or disappointment again. However, avoiding challenges out of fear keeps you stuck in the same place and limits your growth. It's important to remember that making mistakes again is not a failure, but a sign of effort and courage. Each attempt, even if imperfect, moves you closer to mastery and success. To move beyond the grip of past mistakes, developing a growth mindset is essential. This means embracing the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. Instead of seeing a mistake as a dead end, you view it as a detour, a necessary step on the path to improvement. This mindset fosters resilience and optimism because it shifts focus from what went wrong to what can be done better next time. Practically, breaking free from past mistakes requires deliberate action. Reflect on the experience honestly, but without judgment. Identify the factors that contributed to the mistake and consider what changes you can make to avoid repeating it. Set new goals based on this insight and create a plan to move forward. It's also helpful to surround yourself with supportive people who encourage growth and remind you of your value beyond your errors. External support can reinforce your internal progress and provide perspective. Remember that everyone has a past full of mistakes, but those who succeed are not those who never failed. They are those who refuse to be defined or defeated by their failures. They see their past as a foundation, not a cage. Your past does not control your future unless you allow it to. By releasing regret, embracing lessons, and choosing to grow, you reclaim your power and open the door to a life of purpose, confidence, and fulfillment. Don't let past mistakes control your life. Recognize their role as teachers. Forgive yourself, confront fear, cultivate a growth mindset, and take intentional steps forward. Your future is not written by your past errors, but by the actions you take today. Embrace your journey with compassion and courage, and watch how you transform challenges into stepping stones toward your greatest potential. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that can influence the way we live our lives. It is a natural and necessary response designed to protect us from danger, but when fear becomes chronic or irrational, it can severely limit our potential and happiness. Many people allow fear to control their decisions, their dreams, and even their daily actions without fully realizing the extent of its influence. Whether it is fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, or fear of change, when fear dominates, it creates invisible barriers that hold us back from pursuing what truly matters. Understanding how fear operates and learning to manage it is essential for living a fulfilling and empowered life. Fear often arises from uncertainty and a perceived threat to our well-being or self-ping. The human brain is wired to prioritize safety, so it quickly identifies risks and triggers fear responses to prepare us for fight, flight, or freeze. This survival mechanism was vital in early human history, but in modern life, many of the fears we experience are not life-threatening, but psychological or social in nature. Despite this, the intensity of fear can be just as strong, causing us to avoid challenges, opportunities, or even simple actions that could lead to growth. The problem with letting fear control your life is that it narrows your possibilities and keeps you confined to a comfort zone that may feel safe but ultimately stifles progress. One common way fear controls people is by creating what-if scenarios that exaggerate potential negative outcomes. These imagined fears become obstacles that prevent action, making it easier to stay stuck than to risk failure or disappointment. When you constantly focus on what if I fail or what if people reject me, you are giving power to fears that are often based on assumptions rather than facts. This habit of overthinking and catastrophizing drains mental energy and creates anxiety, which further fuels avoidance and inaction. Learning to recognize these fear-based thought patterns is a critical step in breaking free from fear's grip. Another important aspect of fear is that it is often rooted in a lack of confidence or self-trust. When you doubt your ability to handle challenges or believe you are not good enough, fear thrives. This self-doubt feeds into fear of failure or fear of judgment, creating a cycle that can be difficult to escape. Building self-confidence is therefore essential to reducing fear's control. Confidence grows through small acts of courage, taking steps despite fear, learning from experiences, and celebrating progress. Each time you face a fear and move forward anyway, you weaken fear's hold and strengthen your belief in your own resilience and capabilities. Fear also tends to exaggerate the permanence and severity of setbacks. When you make a mistake or experience rejection, fear tells you that this moment defines you or that failure is permanent. In reality, failure is often temporary and a vital part of the learning process. Those who succeed are not fearless. They have simply learned to manage fear and see setbacks as opportunities to grow rather than endpoints. Developing this perspective requires practice and a shift in mindset. Viewing fear as a challenge to overcome rather than a stop sign. To avoid letting fear control your life, it's important to cultivate awareness and mindfulness. Notice when fear arises and acknowledge it without judgment. Instead of trying to suppress or ignore fear, observe it as a signal that can guide you toward areas where growth is needed. Mindfulness helps you create space between the feeling of fear and your reaction, allowing you to choose action over avoidance. Additionally, setting clear goals and breaking them into manageable steps reduces fear by making challenges feel less overwhelming. When goals are achievable and progress is visible, fear diminishes. Another powerful tool is reframing fear as excitement or curiosity. Both fear and excitement trigger similar physiological responses, racing heart, heightened alertness, but the meaning we assign to these sensations can shift our experience. If you learn to interpret nervousness before a big event as excitement and opportunity rather than danger, you change your emotional response and open yourself to possibility. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has faced fear and uncertainty. The difference is that they chose to move forward anyway, learning and growing along the way. You can do the same by embracing fear as a natural part of life and refusing to let it dictate your choices or limit your dreams. Don't let fear control your life. Understand its origins. Recognize fear-based thinking. Build confidence. Practice mindfulness. Reframe your emotional responses and take courageous action despite fear. When you do, fear loses its power and you unlock your true potential for growth, success, and happiness. Negative people can have a surprisingly powerful impact on our lives, often in ways we don't immediately recognize. Their attitudes, words, and behaviors can subtly influence how we think, feel, and act, sometimes steering us off course without us even realizing it. It's important to understand that while we cannot always control the people around us, we can control how much influence they have over us. Allowing negative people to control your life is a dangerous trap because it diminishes your sense of self-worth, drains your energy, and hinders your ability to pursue your goals with confidence. Learning how to identify, manage, and protect yourself from negative influences is essential for maintaining mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall well-being. Negative people often operate from a mindset of scarcity and pessimism. They might constantly complain, criticize, or express doubt about possibilities and outcomes. When you spend time around this kind of energy, it can slowly chip away at your optimism and motivation. Even if you start out feeling hopeful and determined, prolonged exposure to negativity can create self-doubt and a sense of hopelessness. This happens because human beings are naturally influenced by social cues. Our brains tend to mirror the emotions and attitudes of those around us. This phenomenon, called emotional contagion, means that negativity can spread like a virus, lowering your mood and confidence without you consciously realizing it. One of the reasons negative people can control your life is because they often use criticism or discouragement as a way to project their own fears and insecurities onto others. Instead of supporting growth and success, they may feel threatened by your potential or change. This can manifest as subtle put-downs, unsolicited advice that undermines your confidence, or outright attempts to derail your progress. When you internalize these negative messages, you start to question your abilities and doubt your path. Over time, this erosion of self-belief can lead to stagnation and missed opportunities. Recognizing that such negativity says more about the other person's struggles than about your worth is a crucial step toward freeing yourself. Another challenge is that negative people often drain your energy. Emotional exhaustion from dealing with constant negativity can make it difficult to focus, stay motivated, or feel enthusiastic about your goals. This fatigue doesn't just affect your emotional state, it can impact your physical health, productivity, and relationships with others. When your energy is sapped, your capacity to respond to challenges creatively and resiliently diminishes. Protecting your energy by setting boundaries and limiting contact with negative individuals is not selfish. It is an act of self-care and preservation necessary for your growth. It's also important to understand that negative people aren't always obvious. Sometimes negativity comes from loved ones, colleagues, or even yourself through self-critical thoughts. Learning to differentiate between constructive criticism and toxic negativity is essential. Constructive feedback is given with the intention to help you improve, while toxic negativity is aimed at bringing you down or maintaining control. Cultivating a healthy support system of positive, encouraging people who genuinely want to see you succeed can counterbalance the influence of negativity and reinforce your confidence. Developing emotional resilience is key to preventing negative people from controlling your life. Resilience involves the ability to maintain your sense of self and purpose even in the face of adversity or criticism. This can be cultivated through practices such as mindfulness, positive affirmations, and focusing on your strengths and achievements. When you are grounded in your values and goals, negative voices lose their power to sway you. Remind yourself regularly of your worth and the progress you've made, and don't hesitate to seek support from mentors or friends who lift you up. Setting firm boundaries is another effective strategy. This may mean limiting conversations with chronic complainers, declining invitations to toxic environments, or being clear about what kind of behavior you will not tolerate. Boundaries protect your mental space and create an environment where positive growth is possible. Remember, saying no to negativity is saying yes to your well-being and future. Remember that you have the ultimate control over your mind and your life. Negative people only have as much power as you allow them to have. By consciously choosing who you spend time with, what thoughts you nurture, and how you respond to challenges, you reclaim your power. Surround yourself with positivity, focus on your goals, and keep moving forward with confidence. Your life is too valuable to be controlled by the doubts and fears of others. Don't let negative people control your life. Recognize their impact, protect your energy, build resilience, set boundaries, and surround yourself with positive influences. When you do, you create a fertile ground for success, happiness, and personal growth, free from the chains of negativity. The past is something that everyone carries with them, a collection of memories, experiences, mistakes, successes, joys, and pains that have shaped who they are today. While the past is an important teacher holding valuable lessons, it becomes problematic when it begins to control your life. Many people fall into the trap of letting their past define their present and limit their future. This can happen in many ways: through regret, guilt, unresolved trauma, or simply the habit of dwelling on what has already happened. But the truth is, your past does not have to dictate your present decisions or future possibilities. Learning to separate yourself from the hold of the past is essential for living a free, empowered, and purposeful life. One of the most common ways the past controls people is through the power of memory and emotion. Certain experiences, especially painful or traumatic ones, leave deep emotional imprints that influence how you think, feel, and act today. These memories can trigger fear, anxiety, self-doubt, or even depression, causing you to react to current situations based on past wounds rather than present reality. When you live through the lens of past failures or hurts, you might find it hard to take risks or trust yourself and others. The weight of these memories can create invisible chains that hold you back from moving forward. Understanding that these memories are just that, memories, not facts or absolute truths, is an important step toward breaking free. Regret is another way the past can control your life. It's natural to look back and wish you had made different choices or to feel remorse for mistakes. However, when regret consumes your thoughts, it becomes a heavy burden that saps your energy and focus. Dwelling on what could have been steals your attention from what can be. It's important to acknowledge past mistakes, learn from them, and then make a conscious choice to let them go. Holding on to regret is like carrying a backpack full of stones. It weighs you down and makes your journey unnecessarily difficult. The more you learn to forgive yourself and others for the past, the lighter your load becomes. Many people also allow their past identities to control them. For example, if you once failed at something, you might label yourself as a failure permanently. Or if you grew up with limiting beliefs, you may continue to believe you are not worthy or capable. These self-imposed labels become a cage, limiting your potential by keeping you confined to an outdated self-position. But remember, identity is not static. It's fluid and constantly evolving. You are not the sum of your past mistakes or limitations. Every day is a new opportunity to redefine yourself and to grow beyond what you once thought possible. A crucial part of overcoming the control of your past involves acceptance and learning. Acceptance means recognizing that the past happened and that it cannot be changed. Fighting against it or wishing it were different only prolongs suffering. Instead, acceptance allows you to make peace with your history, even the painful parts. From this place of peace, you can extract valuable lessons and use them as stepping stones for growth. Every experience, no matter how difficult, contains a lesson that can help you become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Another powerful tool in releasing the past's control is focusing on the present moment. Mindfulness and being fully engaged with your current reality remind you that your past is not your present or future. When you practice living in the now, you develop a habit of responding to life's challenges with fresh eyes and open heart rather than through the distorted filter of old wounds or regrets. This shift empowers you to make choices based on what truly serves your well-being and growth today. Setting goals and creating a clear vision for your future can also help diminish the power of the past. When your energy is directed toward building the life you want, there is less room for old stories to take center stage. A future-oriented mindset encourages hope, motivation, and resilience, which are antidotes to the stagnation caused by past burdens. Visualizing your ideal life and taking consistent actions toward it helps reprogram your mind and reshape your identity. Seeking support when the past feels overwhelming is a sign of strength, not weakness. Whether through therapy, coaching, or trusted friends, sharing your story and getting guidance can help you process unresolved issues and develop healthier perspectives. You don't have to carry the weight of your past alone. Don't let your past control your life. Recognize the difference between memory and reality, release regret, redefine your identity, practice acceptance, live mindfully in the present, focus on your future goals, and seek support when needed. By doing this, you free yourself from the chains of yesterday and open the door to a life filled with possibility, growth, and fulfillment. Your past is a part of your story, but it does not have to be the author of your future.